My new valve finally arrived in the mail, and it only took... Let's open this box up and see what we got. If you don't remember from part 1 of this project, the regular solenoid valve I used kept getting stuck open, even if tiny debris went through it. By design, this valve should be more robust. Simply put, it's a regular ball valve that has a motor attached to it. I've never actually used this style of valve before. My first impression is, it's a little bigger than I expected. It feels sturdy though. I hope the hens don't get scared of the blue box. I might need to repaint it. This specific model only needs 2 wires to operate. Let me show you. You apply 12 volts to the wires and it cycles until it's either fully open or closed. Reversing the polarity moves the valve in the opposite direction. Pretty simple, though not as simple as a regular solenoid. That definitely looks like it can handle some serious debris. Also, I think it's quiet enough that it may not totally freak out the hens. Up until this point, I've been using a switch to manually control the valves that fill and drain the water bowl. It was good enough for testing, but if it's actually going to be used, it needs to be automated. I thought about how I wanted everything to work together, and I kept getting carried away with ideas, like adding Wi-Fi or integrating this with my smart home. Ultimately, I decided to start off with something really simple. Something that someone watching this video could do themselves. I can always upgrade it later. Besides, the chickens may outright refuse to drink from this contraption, so why not start out easy? So here's what I came up with. For controlling the water level of the bowl, I made a simple circuit which passes a tiny current between 2 probes to detect if there's water in the bowl. This circuit has a transistor, a resistor, and a relay. Also, there's a power supply and the valve to actually fill the bowl. When there's water in the bowl, a small current is passed between the 2 probes and a circuit is completed through the transistor. This triggers the transistor to pass a larger current to the coil of the relay. While the relay is energized, the circuit that powers the fill valve is open, and the fill valve itself stays closed. No water flows to the bowl. Now along comes the thirsty chicken and drinks the water, such that the probes are no longer submerged. Let's go through what happens. First, the transistor would lose power. This would stop the current flow to the relay's coil, which would then cause the relay to return to its normally closed position. Now, the circuit powering the fill solenoid is closed, and water starts filling the bowl, and the cycle repeats. Here's what that circuit looks like on a project board. The circuit itself, not including the power supply or the valve, is only 3 parts, and costs about $1 to make. Despite being simple, it works reliably, at least from my bench tests. I sized the resistor in the circuit as high as possible to keep the current between the probes down, but not so high that it affects its reliability to sense water. A good reason to keep the current low is because whenever you pass current through water, even microamps, things happen. One of these things is electrolysis. Water is split into hydrogen and oxygen. I actually saw this when I looked carefully at my probes during a bench test as bubbles on the probes. There's only a small amount of gases being made because the current between the probes is only about 70 microamps, and since the bowl will be installed outside, this isn't really a problem. Another thing I see is rust, which tells me that one of my probes is being consumed as current passes through it. Eventually, it would rust away completely. This is where a little knowledge of electroplating is important. I could solve this problem by making the probes out of stainless steel. This would stop the corrosion, but it could also leach chromium from the stainless into the water. That's bad news, especially for drinking water. The best option for probes is titanium. Yes, I'm serious. I also wish there was an easier way. Titanium won't release anything harmful into the water when current is passed through it, and won't corrode. I use titanium mesh for my electroplating setup for this very reason. The good news is that you can get relatively cheap titanium parts on eBay, and that's exactly what I've done for this project. To control the new dump valve at the bottom of the bowl, I chose to use a simple momentary toggle switch. I was really tempted to integrate a timer into this project, so that cleaning would happen automatically, but again, I wanted to keep things simple. For now. Besides, I need to go out every day to collect eggs anyways, so flipping a toggle isn't that inconvenient. Here's the circuit that controls the dump valve. The double pole double throw switch is wired so that flipping it reverses the polarity of the power sent to the valve and toggles it between open and closed. All of these electronic parts are going to need a home, and I think I know just where to find one. Well, would you look at that? I thought I heard something brewing. It even has all the cutouts and everything, all ready. And is that a picture of a chicken? What are the odds? Let's put all this together now. As is traditional, I've made the box too small. Getting all the parts in was a tight squeeze. But now that it's all together, I can forget again for the next time. And now to connect it all together and make sure that the whole system works, exactly like I imagined, with no problems, at all, whatsoever. And now, the moment of truth. The good news is that the fill valve closes as soon as the water level touches the screw heads. Also, the dump function works beautifully. The bad news is I chose the worst possible spot to put the sense probes. When there's a full tank of water and the pressure is high, the water sprays just hard enough to not bridge the two screws. But as soon as the pressure drops, the water bridges the gap when it's not supposed to. I put some dry soil in the cup anyways to see what would happen. This stuff floats way too much, but at this point, I figured why not. Now the poor probe location really starts to shine. At first, the wet debris bridges the gap, preventing any water flow. And then an oscillation starts happening. The water spray momentarily bridges the screws, shutting off the fill solenoid, and then, as the water drips away, it turns back on again, over and over. I temporarily moved one of the probes to the other side, out of the path of the water, just so I could do some tests. It's clear I'm going to have to remake the bowl. Apart from the unfortunate screw positioning, the circuitry does what it's supposed to. After I moved the probe, I didn't see this problem happen again. I'm going to have to redesign the bowl. The probe positions need to be changed, and I want to adjust where the water sprays, to clear debris better. That sounds like it could make a good part 3 of this series. For this video, I wanted to focus on the electronics of this project. Overall, I'm feeling quite optimistic about it. I'm happy with how the box turned out and how the individual parts work, but I'll need to see whether this way of sensing water is robust enough to use with the birds. That's it for this part. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.